Color Guard, post colors. If you will please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in a moment of silence for the victims of the terror attack in Brussels? Thank you. Color Guard, post. Today we are joined by Lieutenant Colonel Gary T. Fisher, chaplain of the 10th Mountain Division from Fort Drum, New York. He will give our invocation. Colonel.
I invite you to pray with me. Our precious Heavenly Father, the tragedy in Brussels leaves us stunned. We ask that you would be with the people touched by that tragedy today, surround them with your love and grace, and may we do, as a nation, support and be there for them in their time of need. We thank you for today, for the life that you have given to us, the richest of your blessings, the freedoms we enjoy, and the gracious, tender mercies. In this grand chamber where the state Senate gathers, we pause to offer you gratitude for the gift of a great nation and the state of New York. Forgive us for our transgressions against you. Help those who have gathered here today to work together in the knowledge of your truth. I thank you for these leaders who are here by your authority. Bless them and their families. Give to them the wisdom, discernment, humility, and guidance they will need in fulfilling the obligations and responsibilities entrusted to them. May they be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. May their weakness be the vessel of your strength. May the work that is accomplished promote your righteousness and peace throughout the great state of New York. So shall we make our nation great in goodness and good in its greatness. Our solemn prayer is that you will guide us by your word, that you will comfort us by your presence, and that you will strengthen us by your power. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Reading of the Journal.
In the Senate, Monday, March 21st, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Sunday, March 20th, is read and approved. On motion, Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly, messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator DeFrancisco.
Can we please, I move to adopt the resolution calendar, please.
All in favor of adopting the resolution calendar, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution calendar is adopted. Senator DeFrancisco.
Mr. President, I move that the following bills be discharged from their respective committees and be recommitted with instructions to strike the enacting clause. All bills by Senator Funke. 3657, 3680, 3953, 4330, 4560, 4770, 539899.
So ordered.
Also, Mr. President, I move that the following bill be discharged from its respective committee and be recommitted with instructions to strike the enacting clause, Senate 5881 by Senator Murphy.
So ordered.
Would you please now recognize Senator Gianaris?
Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Senator Montgomery, I move that the following bill be discharged from its respective committee and be recommitted with instructions to strike the enacting clause, Senate Bill 7045.
So ordered. Senator DeFrancisco. Senator DeFrancisco.
Yes, could we now take up a previously adopted resolution that's number 4370 by Senator Ritchie, read it in its entirety, and call on Senator Ritchie, please?
Very well. The Secretary will read.
Legislative Resolution Number 4370 by Senator Ritchie, memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim March 22nd, 2016 as 10th Mountain Division and Fort Drum Day in the state of New York. Whereas Fort Drum is located in Jefferson County in northern New York and is the largest military installation in the northeastern United States. And whereas Fort Drum is named for Lieutenant General Hugh Drum, a decorated national hero, former commander of 1st Army, and an early leader of the state's own volunteer militia, the New York Guard. And whereas for more than 30 years, Fort Drum has been home to the United States Army's storied 10th Mountain Division. And whereas the 10th Mountain Division includes the Army's most deployed combat units, serving with honor, distinction, and great sacrifice as part of Operation Enduring Freedom and other actions central to our nation's response to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. And whereas elements of the 10th Mountain Division based at Fort Drum in New York State were first to be deployed in the aftermath of those attacks, and 13 years later, the last units to return from combat duty. So for the first time in more than a decade, nearly all Fort Drum soldiers and officers are back home in New York State. And whereas 323 brave men and women who were members of the 10th Mountain Division and based at Fort Drum gave their lives in the cause of defeating global terrorism. And whereas the distinguished service of the units posted to Fort Drum have been celebrated by presidents, members of Congress, and members of the international community. And whereas, in addition to its vital role in our nation's defense, Fort Drum is the largest single-site employer in the state of New York and an economic engine for the state and region, with a direct impact of more than $1.2 billion in 2014 and more than $20 billion since the reactivation of the 10th Mountain Division at Fort Drum. And whereas 18,000 soldiers and officers of Fort Drum and their families are an integral part of the community and are welcomed as neighbors, co-workers, classmates, friends, and fellow New Yorkers. And whereas it is the sense of this legislative body to salute the soldiers and officers of the 10th Mountain Division, to honor their dedication to preserving our freedom and our nation, and to recognize their individual and collective contributions to our communities and to New York State. And whereas for the past 5 years, 10th Mountain Division and Fort Drum Day has served to educate members of this legislative body about the sacrifices made by the brave men and women of our armed forces, as well as the importance of the installation to our nation's defense and New York's economy. And whereas Fort Drum has and will continue to play an important and essential role in ensuring our nation's military readiness to defend our state and nation against hostility and threats to our safety and our national security. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this legislative body pauses deliberations to memorialize Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim March 22, 2016 as 10th Mountain Division Day and Fort Drum Day in the state of New York, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, suitably engrossed, be transmitted to Brigadier General Paul Bontrager, Commanding General of Fort Drum.
Senator DeFrancisco.
Please recognize Senator Ritchie.
Senator Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Colonel Fisher, for your invocation, along with the members of the Color Guard for leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance today. It is my honor to welcome to the Senate chamber the officers and soldiers of the 10th Mountain Division. And once again today, the tragic news from abroad reminds us how important our soldiers are to the security of our nation. This is the 5th Fort Drum and 10th Mountain Day in the state of New York. Fort Drum grew out of the recognition that for many of my colleagues and for many New Yorkers, Fort Drum is just a little too far to travel and visit, so we bring a little bit of Fort Drum Day to Albany. In the chamber today, we are joined by a few of our 10th Mountain soldiers, including 6 New Yorkers. So as I call the New Yorkers, could you stand up, please? First, we have Captain John Goodwill from Black River, which is my district. And I'll also share him with Senator Griffo, because apparently he's originally from Senator Griffo's district. First Sergeant Donald Lindley from Albany. Sergeant Jesse Dio from Geneseo. Private Matthew Fossey from Millbrook. Specialist Michael Gross from Knox. Specialist Robert P. Vovo from Elma. And also, I would like to note that Fort Drum's acting commander, General Bontrager, has a strong connection to New York. His wife, Kelly, is a native of Lackawanna. These soldiers and officers are among 18,000 fighting men and women who call Fort Drum home. But they are not all at home right now. As we stand here today, over 4,000 10th Mountain soldiers and officers, including Commanding General Jeffrey Bannister, are deployed in forward areas from Afghanistan to Kuwait, Korea, and more. Anywhere and everywhere, freedom is threatened. I ask that you keep them in your prayers while they are away from family and country. To the soldiers, I'm proud to represent you and proud of your many accomplishments. I am also very aware of your sacrifices. You don't have the easiest job in the world, but it may be the most important. In closing, let me thank a few individuals who helped to make Fort Drum Day possible. First, our leader, Senator Flanagan. I had the privilege of taking Senator Flanagan on a tour of Fort Drum last summer, and I think he agrees that it's a pretty impressive site, an important part of our state. Thank you, Leader, for your support of Fort Drum Day in the 10th Mountain Division. I also like to thank the organizations who are here from the community in the gallery today. Fort Drum's success in large part is a result of a strong partnership between the post and communities across the North Country. And lastly, once again, I'd like to thank General Bontrager, your staff and the soldiers who are joining us here today. We are grateful for all you do, and we are with you and stand behind you 100%. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator DeFrancisco.
Could you please recognize Senator Flanagan?
Majority Leader Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd love to add my voice to that of Senator Ritchie. And these are the kind of days, well, first of all, welcome to our house. Welcome to the New York State Senate and the New York State Capitol, all of which, frankly, belongs to you. And we have to remind ourselves of that periodically. And the reason I say welcome to our house is because I know when I was given the privilege to visit your home, we were treated with dignity, respect, courtesy, and it was fantastic. We talk about Fort Drum. This is the 5th day. Our colleague, your ambassador, Senator Ritchie, is your biggest champion, your strongest advocate, your greatest cheerleader, and for many, many reasons. And she is so proud of the fact that she is able to represent you. So when you are here, whether you're in this House or the Assembly, we hope that you are given the respect that you certainly deserve. And I want to thank you on behalf of the New York State Senate and just add, in light of what transpired today, the frailty of human life should always be something that we contemplate. That's the unfortunate news. The beauty of life is that we have the opportunity to live in a democracy, work in the great state of New York, and know that you have our back under any circumstance conceivable, improbable, or even unimaginable. So I think that we owe you an extraordinary debt of gratitude for the service that you have rendered, the service that you will render, and I would ask if all of you gentlemen, including Brigadier General Bontrager, if you would please rise so we can give you an appropriate round of applause. Thank you very much for your service. I add one last thing very quickly. Brigadier General, one of your predecessors used the phrase that I've now heard a couple of more times, and I think it's characteristic of all the people who we just applauded. I fight where I'm told, and I win where I fight. Thank you very much for your service.
Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too must commend Senator Ritchie for doing a great service to all of us, to General Brauntrager, to the officers, NCOs, and the enlisteds. I commend you for great service. To be the most deployed unit in the Army is an honor, but one that brings its own sadness. It means that we have left a lot of people, we have left we've taken them back home, but their spirit stays where we fought. And therefore, it just cautions all of us that we need to be very careful moving our children into harm's way. However, the attack in Brussels alerts us that this is needed, that you absolutely need it, that there are those who, left to their own devices, would bring all kinds of Hades here. And there has to be a line that says, no, it's not going to come in. And more often than not, it's been the 10th Mountain Division. So I commend you for that. The general, of course, was kind enough to give the rest of the Senate an invitation. He said not only would we be willing to come and visit, but he would do a one-day training for the Senate. That we can actually get out there and do a little something that the Mountain Division does. I suspect that he'll have us rappel from a mountain or two, or maybe we'll be dropped out of a plane, or maybe it's perhaps a little easier since it's a one day. I must admit, and I'm very grateful that you gave me the chance to use the 50 cal machine gun. It is an amazing tool, and I thank you for it. Having said those things, Mr. President, I again want to thank the 50 cal, the 10th Mountain for their service. Thank you very much.
Senator Gallivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to also thank Senator Ritchie for helping to make this day possible, but really to the General and everybody at Fort Drum for making all things possible for us, for representing our state well, for representing our country, for representing our communities, and allowing all of us to enjoy the quality of life that we have. In particular, this is my 6th year, and I know this is the 5th year you guys have been here, our representatives have been here. I've never had the honor of somebody from my district being here, so I just want to single out, again, Sergeant Deal, Specialist Pivovar, from my hometown and my father's hometown, and thank you for your service in making our district proud, our community proud, our state and our country. God bless you.
Senator Amador.
Mr. President, I rise to also echo the comments of our colleagues, thanking Fort Drum, the soldiers, and the leadership, also Senator Patty Ritchie for bringing such fine individuals, brave soldiers, and the best Americans that we know of. You know, it's always a great day in the Senate when we have the opportunity to recognize the brave men and women in the armed forces. And I'm particularly proud to welcome 2 individuals who I represent in the 46th Senate District. The first is First Sergeant Donald Lindley from Guilderland, right here in Albany County. Also is Specialist Michael Gross from the town of Knox, also from Albany County. And it's no doubt that we all owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to all of the men and women who are in uniform. But I want to thank you for keeping us safe, for keeping us free, and for taking on the challenge. God bless you all, no matter where your path may lead you. Keep Him first, our country second, and thank you so much for your honor and dignity. God bless you.
Senator Little.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to thank Senator Ritchie for having this day as she has begun this since she arrived here in the Senate. And also thank you for coming down, but also thank you for the wonderful display in the well and the opportunity for the men and women who are here in the Capitol to see what Fort Drum and what this Army Division is all about. Very proud of having you here, proud of having you in our state. I can't sit down without saying I do say go Navy every day, but my son is deployed and is currently serving in the Persian Gulf as the CAG on the Truman carrier. But he, like you, is willing to put himself in harm's way and has dedicated many years and made many sacrifices in his life to protect our country and protect all of us. So thank you for your dedication, for your willingness to serve, and for the sacrifices you and your families make while you're serving. Thank you.
Senator Ort.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to thank my colleague, Senator Ritchie, for all the part you play in this day and bringing these brave soldiers to our house here in our state's capital. And to all of you, I've spent many a field exercise and a training exercise and many a night at Fort Drum. With all due respect to my colleague, Senator Ritchie, I hated almost every minute of it when I was there. However, as a New York State legislator, I understand the importance that Fort Drum is economically, not only to Senator Ritchie's district, but our whole state, as well as the importance from a national security standpoint. But at the end of the day, Fort Drum would be nothing without the soldiers of the 10th Mountain. New York State is privileged to have its own division. I believe the only state that has its own division wholly within the state. And so that is something we should be proud of. That is something we should be talking about. And obviously, on a day like today, we are reminded of the risks of a free society, but we're also reminded of the men and women who defend that freedom. So I want to thank you for your service to our country. I want to thank you for raising your hand. No one made you. You did it of your own volition. And I also would like to ask you to keep me updated. My colleague, Senator Sanders, suggested that some members here might be repelling. I would ask for a report from you if you could keep me updated on how many of my colleagues volunteer to repel. I would like to know that if I could. I would be interested in that information. But again, I want to thank you for what you do. Godspeed. God bless you and your families, wherever it may lead you. Hua.
Senator Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise to join my colleagues in congratulating Senator Ritchie for what she's doing. It is important for you guys to know, for everyone, especially the young people, to know how important is what Senator Ritchie is doing today. In 1960, 56 years ago, 56 years ago, many of you were not even born. But 56 years ago, I joined the Army in Puerto Rico. And there was the Vietnam conflict. And I joined voluntarily. I joined the Army to fight for my country, to give my services. And in that time, we didn't have people like Senator Ritchie. That time we have other kind of people. We have Jane Fonda, Hanoi James. We have those that treated us like criminals, those that call us murderers. And when I went back to Puerto Rico in 1962, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm so happy, and I'm praising Senator Ritchie. When I went back to Puerto Rico in 1962, they didn't receive me there. They didn't give me any credit. On the contrary, they were ashamed of me because I was wearing the American Army uniform. And all over the nation, people were criticizing and talking bad about the armed forces, and they didn't give us no credit. But now, 56 years later, the environment has changed, and we have Senator Richie, and we have all of you. And nowadays, we, with dignity, with honor, with prestige, we praise our armed forces members. We give them the credit. We recognize what they are done. We recognize that they are putting their life in danger, that they are sacrificing their life, their family, to protect our nation. And we don't have no more Jane Fondas. We don't have no more Hanoi James. We are heroines like Senator Richie and all of you that open the door of this chamber to recognize what those gentlemen or the men of the armed forces of the United States are doing. Congratulations to all of you. You are heroes. You deserve it. You are giving your life. You put your time. You put your youth to protect this nation. And shame on those that treated us bad on that day, on those days. And praise those like Senator Richie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Akshar.
Mr. President, thank you. I rise as well to thank Senator Richie for this resolution and to thank the members of the 10th Mountain Division for being here with us today. You know, we have on a regular basis pretty spirited discussions in this House and robust debates. And we do that because of the work that each of you do. You afford us an opportunity to do that. Each of you epitomizes honor, integrity, and service to others. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about ensuring that we don't drape flags around issues. But today, I think we can drape flag around this issue and be proud of that. So, General, I thank you for your leadership. I thank you for bringing an amazing group of soldiers with you today. I enjoyed my time I spent in the well. Thank you for allowing me to see all the equipment that you use, and thank you all for what you do, and God bless. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no others, Senator DeFrancisco.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, it's always a great fix for everybody in this chamber when we have representatives of the military here. Because all we see is things on a legislative calendar to try to fix a problem. To fix a problem because somebody's not acting properly, or somebody isn't getting the support they should be getting, or something that isn't quite done right by individuals to try to legislate changes. And many times what we see is the hardships around this state. But when somebody and a group of people like you come here that are solid human citizens that are giving themselves up for others, that I anyway believe, and I think everyone in this chamber realizes the future of this country is secure as long as there are still people like you serving, and people like you to serve as examples to everybody. You know, we're proud of our first responders. This group here, the 10th Mountain Division, is the first responder for the country just about every trouble spot in the world. And they've been first responders, and many times first responders, not just going to a theater of war one time. The courage is, I was in the Air Force for 3.5 years during the Vietnam War. Thank God I never went into combat. I don't know what I would have done in combat. The concept is just so amazing to think you're there when people are shooting at you, trying to kill you. But the courage you all have and the examples that you give us, hopefully we can show back to you the fact that we stand on principle, we will make the hard decisions, and we will do the right thing for our country and for our state. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Senator Ritchie, for allowing us to have this great opportunity, and God bless all of you in all your future endeavors. Thank you, Mr. President.